Frost at Midnight. Frost at Midnight is a poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, written in February 1798. Part of the conversation poems, the poem discusses Coleridge's childhood experience in a negative manner, and emphasizes the need to be raised in the countryside. The poem expresses hope that Coleridge's son, Hartley, would be able to experience a childhood that his father could not and become a true child of nature. The view of nature within the poem has a strong Christian element in that Coleridge believed that nature represents a physical presence of God's Word, and that the poem is steeped in Coleridge's understanding of Neoplatonism. Frost at Midnight has been well received by critics, and is seen as the best of the conversation poems. Themes. The narrator comes to an understanding of nature after being isolated and left to his thoughts. Nature becomes a comforter, but the narrator remembers his loneliness during childhood. During his final year at Christ's Hospital, Coleridge completed a poem he titled On Quitting School for College. For a school exercise. In the poem, he describes his time at the school as a pleasant experience. However, Frost at Midnight redefines the experience as one that deprived him of the countryside. In Frost at Midnight, Coleridge explores the relationship between environment and happiness and also reflects on the idyllic innocence of childhood. The construction of this poem, in which Coleridge's infant son is the silent listener, is significant for Coleridge's musings on the above themes. There is another quality to Coleridge's retelling of his childhood experience. He adds supernatural descriptions to the common scenes of his youth. In particular, the church bells are able to make a promise of a better life. The Gothic elements of the poem connected to many of his other works, including Ancient Mariner, Ballad of the Dark Lady, Fears in Solitude, France, An Ode, The Nightingale, Three Graves, and Wanderings of Cain. Within the poem, the narrator expresses his hope that his child, Hartley Coleridge, will experience a life connected to nature as represented by features typical of the Lake District, which Coleridge in common with other lake poets revered. This is similar to what Coleridge's friend William Wordsworth does with the narrator of Tintern Abbey, a poem composed later that year. Many of the feelings of the narrator for his child are connected to Coleridge's sonnet. To a friend who asked, "How I felt when the nurse presented my infant to me." The ideas about nature in this lime tree bower are transformed into the basis for an education, and Hartley is to learn through nature in an innocent way. Coleridge's nature has a Christian presence and nature is a physical presence of God's Word. Coleridge's understanding of God is Neoplatonic and emphasizes a need to experience the divine knowledge. Like many of the conversation poems, Frost at Midnight touches on Coleridge's idea of one life, which connects mankind to nature and to God. Touching on themes that come up in the Aeolian harp, religious musings, and other poems, the poem produces the image of a life that the narrator's child will experience in the countryside. The boy would become a child of nature and raised free of the constraints found in philosophical systems produced by those like William Godwin. End of the summary. Thank you.